Time. An overarching theme of Emphorius and something we have to talk about time and time again. And here we are, yet again, because Hoyo loves to mess around with time in their trailers and absolutely randomize everything in order to confuse us and then leave us to pick up the pieces. However, we have been left breadcrumbs, and you all know well enough by now that I make it my mission to find where these breadcrumbs lead. Because as we know, the Trailblazer took over the role of Deliverer from Khaslana, yet we know that Phynon will exist in order for this cutscene to happen. So a lot has to change from the previous cycle. And through some analysis, I have realized something very strange and very concerning. Because what if I told you that Phynon will not be the world bearer of the cycle, and we will have multiple Chrysos heirs die yet again, along with multiple other secrets hidden here and there. Yes, unfortunately this will not be a flawless victory, and the trailer proves this in more ways than the name of the update being Before Their Deaths. So let's get into this, because this is the secrets of the final flame chase revealed. Okay. So I think that a lot of weird things are going to happen in this update, and it will be an emotional roller coaster for the ages. And first and foremost, let's get to the bad news before we get to the good news, because I do believe that many of the Chrysos heirs we know and love will die yet again, and the others will just be out of commission, and that's how we get here with the remainder of our forces. Let me explain. You see, we see all of the Chrysos heirs, including Zhongli, Geo, Earth Dragon, Dan Heng, and Evernight March 7th, but we see them all in different ways. Starting off with Castor, as her backstory isn't really gonna change at all. She is still the demigod of death that needs to return to Styxia in order to relieve Polixia of her duty. That's kinda the only way to get the core flame. Then, once she gets the core flame, she can't really leave. So the way the trailer portrays her is her floating over Styxia. And I believe that they did this for a reason, because this kind of represents her presence kind of permeating the entirety of Styxia as the demigod of death, guiding everyone to the other side. So her being a giant isn't literal, it's more symbolic of her dominion over what Styxia represents. The same going for Mighty, who doesn't really leave Castrum Kremnos after taking over the authority of Strife. That's his hand up there ruling with a golden fist. And the reason why I can be so sure about this all is because Hyacinth is shown in the exact same way, because she is also displayed as the canon size of Ika the Veracity. And for those of you who don't know, this is a reference to Hyacinth's fate as the demigod of the sky. You see, becoming the demigod of the sky isn't as graceful as it sounds, because in reality Hyacinth had to force her body into the sky mural and fuse herself with it. Something she herself even figured sounded painful. But after she did this, she was able to use the authority of the sky to shield people in Akima from the Black Tide's onslaught. So just like Castor's and Mighty's presence being wide and boundless, Hyacinth also falls under the same style of demigod. Thus she also appears as a giant. Then of course there is Evernight, who as someone who possesses the authority of time to such an extent that Ornyx calls her mother, has more presence than Castor's, Mighty, or Hyacinth combined, so she is much larger than all three of them. And since she is from beyond the sky, she is even larger than Emphorius. I'm really trying to take this scene metaphorically because I don't think that she's actually eating Emphorius here. That would mean she just killed everyone. And though this would defeat Irontomb, I'm not all for just straight up the deletion of everyone. So hopefully this is symbolic and not literal. And it is this symbolism that really sets the tone here for this trailer. Because next we see Aglaya, Anaxa, the Treebees, Cypher, and Phynon. And this is where the bad news really kicks in, because I think all of them are going to die. I wish this wasn't the case. The last thing I want is to see these guys in more pain, but hear me out. Hoyo really hid this one, because the first one we see is Aglaya restraining herself with her own golden threads, with her garment makers surrounding her as if they are going to do some type of execution. So I'm pretty sure that's already a bad omen as it is. The next one we see is Treebee flying to Trian as Trinan is already down. And then we get a close-up and Trian is smiling again, and I don't like it when she smiles like this because it brings back bad memories, because Tribi isn't smiling at all, and we know how much of a bad omen that is because we've played these games before. Then we have Anaxa doing Anaxagoras things, nothing exactly special there, and Cypher's taking a cat nap next to Zagreus, aka Bartolos, with Finon and the Flame Reaver that no longer exist in the cycle, and I'll get to Khaslana's appearance later. But Nova, you say? Things look bad for the first two, but what about the other three? Well, if you look closely, they all have one thing in common. They're all on fire. When we see Aglaya, her ribbon has caught fire. When we see Tribi, Trian's wings are on fire and with a flame coming from Trinan. When we see Anaxa, his hand is on fire, Cypher's pouch thing is on fire, and Finon's shoulder has also caught flame. And these are all characters that are absent from the final battle with Irontomb, where we see only Danhung, Evernight, Cerydra, Hysolins, Herta, and Screwlum showing up to help us, and Cyrene, of course. Mighty, Castors, and Hyacinth get a pass due to them needing to stay behind in their own domain, so it makes sense why they don't show up. But the others, not so much. And these absent parties, again, are the only ones shown to be on fire. So it's not looking good for him. But now for the good news, because through this little spoiler, we see that Cerydra isn't dying and will make it to the end with us, which confirms my theory of this death by Dux Gladiorum being fake. We do see this little moment with the whole plan in motion here with Cerydra clutching at Hysolins' blade, and that is her blade. But again, because of what we see here, I don't think that she dies per se. She is based off of Fuhua after all, so she will death fake at least once. And for those of you who don't think that Cerydra is based off of Fuhua from Honkai Impact 3rd, dragon wings, and stuck in the body of a child due to her power.
Those who seek the power of law are destined to pay an equal price. But so what? To trade burning pain for a crown, to rob divine authority in exchange for eternal infancy. Such a bargain is nothing if not perfectly fair.
Because I didn't think this was going to be relevant at the time, so I didn't explain it then, but apparently Cerydra, in exchange for the authority of law, is stuck in the body of a young girl. And wouldn't you know it, Fuhua doesn't age because she has a healing factor, but the downside is that she underwent her moth surgery as a teenager. So she is stuck in the body of around a 17, 18-year-old. Meaning that she could pass as a high schooler, and that's how she met Kiana and all that, despite being 50,000 years old and served as her class monitor. Such things happen when you just don't age, but that's besides the point. Point is, Fuhua doesn't die when she is killed and has faked her death twice. One of her said fake deaths was because of her own students attempting to assassinate her. So I'm just saying, if Cerydra fakes her death by having Hysolins near kill her, we know why, and we know that she isn't dead. I don't know why she would do this, but we keep getting hints that it's going to happen. And as for Khaslana, if you've seen my videos, you already know what's happening here, because it was confirmed that Khaslana was indeed fighting the real Zephyro in front of the real Nanook, and he has since died. But this does not mean that he is gone, because every Lord Ravager has to die before they are reborn by Nanook, and the location of this rebirth takes place on a planet called the Warforge, a lava planet, where the Antimatter Legion is also created. So we can basically confirm through what we know about these things that Khaslana was fighting in the Warforge, then died in the Warforge, leaving only one step left to fulfill: his rebirth. And this is what I believe is him burning away in the Warforge, because unlike every other example, Khaslana isn't on Amphorius. The background is just magma. And just as the camera pans to the side, you can see the curvature of a planet. That is a planet of lava, the Warforge. And this is great news, because once again, hear me out, because I have also said before that Nanook keeps 7 Lord Ravagers, and he always manages to keep 7. When one dies, he replaces them. We know this because of when Zulo was killed by Galaxy Rangers, Nanook ascended Selenova to take his place. So if Khaslana is burning in the Warforge in order to be reborn, this means that a Lord Ravager has fallen. Irontomb has fallen. I think this one shot spoils the entire ending of Amphorius along with the repercussions. But I've also got mixed feelings about what will happen to this cycle's Finon, because not only is he on fire, but he is also not the one holding the core flame of world bearing. That's Kaelus, because Kaelus is the only one with the yellow strap on his right hand. And because this isn't Finon holding the core flame, this may mean that not only have we taken the burden of being the deliverer from Finon, but we have also taken Kephales's core flame from him. But to be honest, it might be best if he doesn't have it. But I'm not done yet. I've got more good news, because we just happen to have this shot of every Chrysosaur alive with their core flames. And I think this is something that happens after the final battle. One, because everyone is alive and present, and two, because this is the vortex of Genesis. As the camera pans around, you can see the giant center light vortex with the core flame surrounding it. It's just absolutely destroyed, but it is still the vortex of Genesis. And since every one of the Chrysosaurs are accounted for here, besides whoever is in control of time at this point, and Dan Heng of course, we know that they are either all reborn in the end, or I am just wrong about their deaths and they all lived and nothing bad happened. Which I'm not going to say isn't possible, I'm just mentally preparing myself for the worst, so if anything better happens, I'll be delighted. And as for the two geniuses, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm not exactly sure how Herta and Screwlum are gonna join us, but I'm assuming they will, because they are among the bunch of people that are here left at the end after every memory fades away. Memories including the Stellaron hunters that are just here. Don't know what that means either, but Herta and Screwlum are geniuses, so I'm sure they just figured something out, right? It is weird that in the next shot we see everyone fighting with us but the two geniuses though. So here's hoping that they do show up and that they're actually here with us and that they're actually going to help. I would hate to get faked out by Herta again. I'm still salty about Herta not getting to talk to Noose on screen, but that's besides the point. Point is, there are good things and bad things foreshadowed in this coming update, and I just wanted to shine a light on what is hidden beneath the surface of this incredibly complicated trailer. Because this is the secrets of the final flame chase revealed. There is just so much going on here that I can't wait to dive into. This will probably be either the last video or one of the last videos before the update, so we are going to find out if what I just said is going to be confirmed or proven completely false, or a little bit of both, which is entirely normal. Because in truth, I am just as clueless as anyone else. I just do a lot of reading, and through this reading, I notice things. And speaking of noticing things, this may be the last video posted to this channel before we hit 50,000 subscribers, and I will be giving you guys the gift that will truly make us a community, and also give us the unrivaled power of friendship fitting for the ending of the Amphorius story. Looking back on it all, this has truly been our Era Nova. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.